minute. Now, what are the precautions that we can take? And now these precautions are something that are applicable for almost all of the questions where you have lens. So for example, whenever you have a light experiment or a lens question, always make sure that your room is dark. Okay? This allows for better images to be formed or more visible images to be formed. Then secondly, make sure that the lens and the object are at the same height. Then lens, object, and screen are perpendicular to the surface. So they're standing upright. Then fixed rule. So now if you were to measure the distance, you would probably put your ruler somewhere here so that when you're moving, you keep getting the values on the ruler. If you want to measure the height, I would probably take a ruler and attach it with a clamp stand. So when I attach it with a clamp stand, I ensure that that ruler is standing fixed. And then I could also make sure that the ruler is 90 degrees to the surface. Now, all of this detail, if you draw this in the diagram, or आपकी diagram में ये सारी चीजें नजर आ रही हैं, and you label it, trust me, it is going to make your case very, very strong for getting full marks in a planning question. Okay? Last but not the least, you can now in this question, if you were to draw a graph, so you could either make a table. So the table that I'm going to make here is going to be image size followed by object size. You could also say distance from object, and last column could be for magnification. अच्छा, अब इसके यूनिट्स, अगर आपने टेबल बना दिया तो यूनिट जरूर लिखने हैं, उनके बगैर नहीं आप ये काम कर सकते. सो यहाँ पे सेंटीमीटर्स होगा, सेंटीमीटर्स होगा, सेंटीमीटर्स होगा, मैग्निफिकेशन का कोई यूनिट नहीं होता. So now, if you were to draw a graph, you could draw a graph of magnification against object size. And the trend of the graph is going to tell us whether it is increasing and decreasing. Acha. Very quickly, we've looked at an idea as to what is important in a planning question. So in a planning question, I would always suggest इस experiment में अगर मैंने for example independent variable सोचना था, तो independent variable ये था कि lens object से कितना दूर है. Dependent variable क्या था, image का size क्या है. What are the things that I should have kept constant here? So I should have kept the object जो कि जिसकी image बन रही है the same, उसका size same रखना चाहिए. Then I should have kept the distance of the screen fixed. So ये सारी की सारी चीजें मुझे fixed रखनी है. Now, what are the precautions that I should be taking? So the precautions that I should be taking is that I need to ensure that the size of the image does not get too big for me to be unable to measure it, or that the light does not get so dim that it is very hard for me to see where the image is formed. What are the better things that I can do here? I should do it in a darkened room. I should make sure that the object, the center, so ये basically बात होती है कि जो आपका center है ना, they should all be center aligned. इन सबके centered align होनी चाहिए. अच्छा, so I'm going to Suleiman. आपका question था, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you to ask, let you ask the question. Raja, जी आप पूछ लें राजा, फिर उसके बाद सुलेमान I can unmute you. जी कासिम. जी कासिम, you're unmuted.
Can you hear?
जी, I can.
So the graph that we're plotting is magnification against object size, but object size is constant. So
No. Not object size, object distance. So the distance of the lens from the object. So that was what the question was about. Sorry, object size nahi, object distance. My bad. ठीक है, एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? इसको और इसको करना है ना हमने जी। सुलेमान, I've unmuted you.
Sir, I do think, sir, firstly, could we have the light intensity of the bulb as a control variable?
No, because it's not going to affect where the image is formed. You could have the type of lens as a limiting factor. So you need to make sure that the entire experiment is done with the same lens. You need to make sure that the entire experiment is done, making sure that the lens is at the same position, things of these sort. But the light intensity can only make the image clearer or unclearer, but it's not going to affect the size of it.
Okay.
And we
Sir,
are
and
interested in the size.
yes. Sorry, and secondly, could parallax error be a precaution to be taken against?
Yes, bilkul. We have the rulers being used here. So if the rulers are being used here, then definitely parallax error. So you need to simply write down that, ensure that. So is case mein, the best way to negate parallax error is to make sure that, अगर आपके पास ये सेटअप है कि ये आपकी स्क्रीन पड़ी हुई है, यहाँ पे आपका लेंस पड़ा हुआ है, and you have your object here, then the ruler should be placed in such a manner that either it is touching with the holders. So, screen का एक holder होता है.
Yes.
ठीक है, इस तरह का कुछ holder होता है. So you need
Yes.
to place it in the holder and make sure that the ruler is touching the holder. If the ruler is touching the holder, then it removes the chances of parallax error, because you can't make the mistake of taking some other reading. The
So
second
can you
thing
clamp
is
this ruler as well?
Sorry?
Can you clamp this kind of the horizontal ruler as well?
You don't have to, because you can put it on this table alongside. So यहाँ पे आपके holders आ गए ना, यहाँ पे आपके holders आ गए, और holders के बिल्कुल साथ आप वो रख देते हो ruler.
Okay, sir.
ठीक है?
Yes,
अच्छा.
sir.
Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about was basically related to the terminology that should be used. So please remember that when you're doing paper 4, there are 3 important keywords that you need to remember, जिसके बारे में आपसे पूछा जा सकता है. You could either be asked to describe something, and when you're describing something, you then have to, so for example, you could be asked to describe the trend that you see in a graph. So that trend could be increasing, that trend could be decreasing. You could also be, that trend could be leveling out or plateauing. Or for example, you could be asked to, you could be given a situation where some sort of experiment is set up, and then you're asked. So for example, a very common question is that they could ask you that there is a heater that is used to warm water, and there is a thermometer inside the water. Now they'd say, even after the heater has been switched off, describe what you observe on the thermometer. And the thing that you observe on the thermometer is that even after the heater has been switched off, there is still some sort of heat transfer that is taking place. So simultaneously or instantly, you can't read off from the thermometer. You wait for 1 or 2, you wait for the temperature to become constant, and then you take the reading. So that is something that you need to remember. So इस तरह के आपको describe questions आ जाते हैं, जहां पे आपने बताना होता है कि क्या हो रहा है. इसी तरह कुछ cases में it says describe and explain. So मिसाल के तौर पे अगर आपको ये कहा जाता कि सिर्फ डिस्क्राइब करें जी आपको क्या नजर आएगा, तो आप कहेंगे और अभी भी टेम्परेचर की वैल्यू इंक्रीज कर रही है. अब आपको वो अगर कहता है डिस्क्राइब एंड एक्सप्लेन व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, देन यू विल राइट डाउन दैट यू नो व्हाट, all of the heat transfer has not taken place, there is still some heat going from one thing to another, and hence we need to explain what is happening. So this is where the second thing is, ki screenshot le lo, go over it. These are very good command words. So when you write with command words, it is easier for the examiner to pick up कि आप कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं. And last but not the least, evaluating. So a very common question for evaluating, पता है क्या आता है? कि मिसाल के तौर पे आपके पास एक स्प्रिंग था, ठीक है? आपने उस स्प्रिंग पे पहले 1 न्यूटन फोर्स लगाई और उसके अंदर एक्सटेंशन आ गई कुछ 2 सेंटीमीटर्स। सो 1 न्यूटन पे एक्सटेंशन आ गई 2 सेंटीमीटर्स। आपने 2 न्यूटन लगाई, एक्सटेंशन आ गई 4.1 सेंटीमीटर्स। आपने 3 न्यूटन फोर्स लगाई, आपके पास एक्सटेंशन आ गई, you get an extension of, let's suppose, 6.3 सेंटीमीटर्स, ठीक है? अब वो आपको कहता है कि इस रीडिंग और इस रीडिंग्स को यूज करके के की वैल्यू निकालो। सो के की वैल्यू होती है एफ डिवाइडेड बाय ई। सो यहाँ पे हो जाएगा 2/4.1, यहाँ पे हो जाएगी 3/6.3। अच्छा, अब अगर मैं जब इसको कैलकुलेटर में डालता हूँ ना, तो ये वैल्यूज होंगी डिफरेंट ही। जैसे मिसाल के तौर पे 2 डिवाइडेड बाय 4.1, if I could, so this would be somewhere close to 0.5, but not exactly 0.5. So it's going to be 2 divided by 4.1 gives you 0.4878, and 3 divided by 6.3 gives you 0.4762. ये मैंने 4 सिग्निफिकेंट तक लिख दिया। अच्छा, अब आपने सारी जिंदगी थ्योरी में ये पढ़ा है कि के की वैल्यू तो कांस्टेंट है, जिस मर्जी से निकाल लें। सो वो ऑब्वियसली थियोरेटिकली तो कांस्टेंट है, लेकिन जब व्हेन यू डूइंग थिंग्स एक्सपेरिमेंटली, हो सकता है ये जो 0.1 या 0.3 की वैल्यूज आई हैं, ये किसी एक्सपेरिमेंटल एरर की वजह से आ गई, और अगर वो एक्सपेरिमेंटल एरर की वजह से आ गई हैं तो यू नीड टू अकाउंट फॉर इट। अच्छा, अब वो कहता है इवैल्यूएट करें कि ये के की वैल्यू सेम है या डिफरेंट है। अच्छा, अब यहाँ पे ऑलवेज द थिंग दैट यू नीड टू डू इज कि इसको आपने K1 कह दिया, इसको आप K2 कह दें। सबसे पहले आपने क्या करना है, यू हैव टू टेक द डिफरेंस ऑफ K's, you have to divide it by the average of K and multiply it by 100. If this value is less than 10%, then the variation in K is because of experimental errors, and the relationship does exist. Because remember, K is, why are we calculating K? Why are we so interested in K? Because F is directly proportional to E, and this relationship is this relationship का जो constant है, that is K. So अगर K की वैल्यू डिफरेंट आना शुरू हो जाए तो ये रिलेशनशिप अनट्रू हो जाएगा। सो वो आपसे यही पूछना चाह रहे हैं कि ये रिलेशनशिप ठीक है या नहीं है। सो इसका जवाब ये होता है कि अगर लेस देन 10% है तो yes. And when they ask you this question, I would always suggest do this calculation. When you do this calculation, the examiner will love it. Then the examiner will give you not extra credit, but obviously these are the things that you need to do for an A-star paper or a distinction paper. And if it is more than 10%, then, okay, this is now your criteria. So you can say when it is less than 10%, the statement that you follow it up with is, well, the difference in the readings is not sizable. But when it is more than 10%, you say, well, the difference in the readings is quite sizable, and hence the value of K's are not the same. So this is a good question that, a lot of people get.